everybody.
Oh, so nice to see people waving.
People.
Yay. So a few housekeeping things. Welcome, firstly. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm incredibly honoured that you are spending your time with us, and for those of you spending your money as well. And even if you're mainly here to see Paul, I'm thrilled because Paul is a good friend and I'm very excited that he's here as well.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
So just want to check that everyone can hear us and that they have their chocolate, some water and some scissors to get into the plastic. I've already unwrapped mine. Actually, this time I didn't even wrap it. That was going to be the plastic, to be fair. The other thing I just wanted to check. So if you all know where the chat screen is, down the bottom. Actually, I'm going to try and open up on this one and maybe it'll record the chat this time. I don't know. We'll give it a go. So any questions that you have or any comments, start throwing them into the chat. It was really fun last time when people started sharing the thoughts. So hopefully you have your tasting wheel. Feel free to ignore it. But if you do want to have a look at it and see what flavours you can identify in the chocolate. Just a quick test, we're going to use the reactions button as well, which is down the bottom. Very exciting.
I've not used that before.
It's super fun.
Can I press it now? Yes,
please. If everyone can do a thumbs up now, and then we'll see whether it works. Yay! Or you can just do an actual thumbs up, but it works particularly well for people who don't want their screens on for whatever reason. The camera, sorry. The thumbs up, we were going to use that for yes, I like it, and also if I'm asking you if you think the percentage is higher or lower, because we're going to. Oh. So the wave will be lower, even though the only other one we've got. Yeah. So my plan is that we will get through tasting all 5 chocolates by 8:10, and then that will give us 20 minutes. So anyone who has other things they want to get on and do, they can. But Paul and I will be here for another 20 minutes for asking anything that you might want to ask. Well, possibly. If you can't get your reactions to work, if you got your screen on, we'll just do an actual thumbs up. Or you can do both.
You can try and do that. It's hard. Wave and thumb at the same time is very difficult.
Yeah. Okay, so the idea behind these tastings was partly because I don't have any other work at the moment, but mainly because the reason I started the tours was to introduce people to great chocolate makers and chocolatiers like the lovely Paul, who's been a supporter since the very beginning. And this is actually really exciting because now I can introduce people to chocolate from all across the country, not just the places that are walking distance from one another. So what I'm trying to do with these ones, and I'm going to do a few more, seeing as so many of you have signed up for these first 2, is to pick one of my favourite chocolate bars from the full breadth of the Bean to Bar chocolate makers in the UK. And that will get us through the summer months. And then when it gets to October, I'm going to try and switch to doing truffles. So we'll see. So hopefully you'll sign up for future ones. But for now, we have Bean to Bar. And as you probably can tell just by looking, there is a mix of, or there's certainly some that have flavours, other additions rather than just cocoa beans. There are a few of you who were on the last one and came back to this one. Yay, thanks. So I'm going to repeat the bit in a minute about how we taste chocolate properly, which, as I've said before, you're very welcome to ignore beyond this call, but it might help you in picking out the flavours for now. I should, in a moment, do a proper introduction of Paul before we get onto the chocolate as well. Just dragging it out. Just like, give me the chocolate. Can we see a thumbs up for those of you who are already aware of Paul?
Oh, hooray. Oh, that's nice. Hi, everyone.
Okay, with Paul. So how many of you have been on a chocolate tour before? or an ice cream tour, or a sweet treats tour.
Oh, quite a few.
Yay. I imagine there's quite a bit of crossover between, if you've been on a tour with me, you've probably been introduced to Paul, even if you weren't on a tour that Paul's shop is on, just because I talk about him a lot. Sea salted caramel and many others. So Paul, as you probably guessed by now, is one of my favourite chocolatiers, and he is possibly the chocolatier in the UK that holds, was for a long time anyway, held more awards than any other chocolatier. He actually hasn't entered quite a few years though, so that might not be the case anymore.
I know. I did judge though instead.
Yes.
And we have entered the Great Taste Awards this year.
Ooh, I'm normally a judge for that, but
I get judged next week.
not for me. Damn. That would be nice. I might have been slightly biased, but your chocolates always, one of the things I tell people I love the most about your chocolates is that you utilize different shapes in order to best deliver the flavor. Yeah. And so that means that you can't always pick yours, even if you are as familiar with them as I am. So yes, Paul is an incredible chocolatier. If you haven't been lucky enough to have any of his creations, he is now finally selling them online, which is obviously unfortunate in the fact that he's had to, because the shops are shut, except Camden Passage. So if you're anywhere wanting to make a trip into London, make sure you go via Angel Station, that general Islington area, into Camden Passage. It's very pretty and there are amazing chocolates. So go to Camden Passage, but if you can't make it, then they're selling online. And I had a box when I ordered the salted caramel bars.
Right.
Wonderful. So wonderful.
Thanks, Jen.
Did I miss anything, Paul, about you?
No, that was very good. But just to let everybody know, Jen's been bringing all of you, some of you, and many people into my shops since the very beginning. So that's 14 years.
Oh yeah, because you opened yeah.
We're just coming to our 15th year, so yeah, so 50 years. So it's a long time. So I think Jen has probably tasted nearly everything I've ever made. So yeah, but thank you for bringing people in, because that's the only way we can spread the word about fantastic handmade chocolates using smaller producers and larger producers, and spreading the word, which is why you are all on here right now. We can usually do this with our shops open, but it's obviously limited right now, which is why you're all at home doing it now.
Yeah, I'm quite excited that now people I can't imagine anyone wanting to do this before, but yay, it means I am hoping that we will start real tours again. But I would like to keep these going as well, because not everybody can get to London. I know we've got some people joining us from the US and from Canada and from Norway. So
ooh, great. Who's from abroad? Wave everyone who's from abroad. Like not the UK. That sounds so silly. Oh, great. That's brilliant.
Yay.
Is it the middle of the night anywhere? At 4 in the morning eating chocolate anywhere?
No Australians on the call, no. Few people in the middle of the morning though. Yeah. We did have an Australian sign up for the last one, but the chocolate, she did the recording afterwards. It arrived in good condition, just about 2 weeks later. Yeah. So right. I'm going to start sending things earlier. I know there's a few of you whose chocolate hasn't arrived. So in future, even the UK ones, I'll send a week in advance, and then I'll see if I can find an even earlier way to send further abroad. Anyway, chocolate time, sorry. First chocolate is the Red Star. So you might have noticed that you've got a recipe from Paul, which is, I haven't actually made, but I'm sure it's amazing. And the brownies. And the tasting wheel both say Taste Tripper on it, which is a business that I used to run. And these stickers are left over from that business as well. So these happy little smiling starfish. So the Red Star. Okay, so mine is not in a circle, but everybody else's should be. Everybody got it out? You're ready? So it should be, if it traveled well, it should be nice and shiny. We're using all of our senses to tell whether the chocolate is good. So you want it to see your face in it. Maybe not quite, but you don't want any white spots. Now, you might have something that looks like crumbs on a chocolate. So it might have little lighter brown spots. And usually if you just rub your finger across those, that will they'll disappear. So that's the way to tell the difference between a chocolate that has actually bloomed, which is where the cocoa butter starts rising to the surface, and one that's just a little bit scuffed. Oh, nice and shiny. Thanks, Paul.
That's a shiny. I've got a bit of chocolate that's bloomed. Hang on. Oh.
Yes, that will be useful.
Just behind me, so just to show the difference, if anyone's never seen it. See how white that little button is compared to that one?
Mm.
That's because my kitchen's been very warm, and that's because this has been kept very cool. So if you've got like this, you're going to have to melt it and retemper it to enjoy it, because all the fats come out.
Yeah, so I actually tempered quite a few of the chocolates that you've got today, and some of them look like that, and I had to start again.
Mm.
Yeah, fun. Right, so yes, nice and shiny, and a shade of brown. So the next to do is to listen to the chocolate. So if you hold it close to your ear, eat me. I'm sorry, I do that on every single tour. You've probably seen me do it in the last tasting. I will stop eventually, but you're gonna break it. Oh, that sounded good. I don't know why I didn't just send you these pieces instead of re-tempering it. It's probably a better temper than you've got now. Yes, smell it next. So the best way to get all the full aroma from a chocolate is immediately after you snap it. But that clicking sound is a sign that it's been well tempered, but it's also a good indicator of what fats they've used. So the cocoa butter is naturally found in the cocoa bean, and in good quality chocolate, that is the only, or certainly good quality dark chocolate, that's the only fat that should be in your chocolate bar. Oh, that smells good. It
does. Quite spicy.
Anyone noticing any flavour notes? If you can only tell chocolate, that's totally fine. I've noticed some of the questions. We'll come back to those.
Biscuity.
Yeah, it's a bit biscuity. Okay, so for the tasting bit, this is a bit which it's easy to do wrong, or the way that you're snacking on it at home. So when we are judging, as Paul said, he's a judge, as am I, we will do all of these steps, and then you take a piece sort of this size or smaller, and or bigger, but you start with this size usually, and then when you put it in your mouth, chew on it a few times, and then suck on it like it's a sweet, so candy. So try not to continue chewing, which is difficult, especially as chocolate never gives you the taste immediately, and so the temptation is to just keep chewing. But the reason some chocolate bars get gold awards is because, you can go ahead, by the way, I know I'm talking, but that's because I don't want to talk with the chocolate in my mouth too much. The reason that the chocolates win gold awards is because the flavor journey that you experience as you first put it in your mouth versus as it warms up, and then as it finishes, and then as it's completely disappeared from your mouth as well.
I'm liking some of the comments, Jen.
Yeah, spicy caramel.
Raspberries, cherries, oat tea. Loving that. I'm getting kind of red, soft red fruit.
Someone said raspberries, berries, cherry, gin. Yeah, I see that. There are no wrong answers, by the way. Everybody's palate's different. It will depend on what time of day it is, given that we're actually, some of us are in a different time of the day, what you have eaten in the previous few hours, what your mood is. If you are happy, you detect things as more sweet than if you're not. And so all those factors, the light in the room can affect how you taste things. So a darker room will change how you experience the taste as well. A bit Madagascar-y. Someone experienced then.
I like the finish. Very low tannins, so it's hasn't got that overriding bitterness. It's very well balanced.
I found it really changed throughout. So like you said, the raspberries, the soft fruits came first, and then it got more kind of caramelly and then spicy at the end, and yeah, smooth. Oh, that's delicious. Red wine, yeah. Also, it's incredibly leading when other people start telling you flavors. You're like, yes, 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 which is the reason why when we judge for the awards, at least when I'm leading a table, I'm very militant, and no one is allowed to share their thoughts until everybody's already written down what they think of a chocolate. Because as soon as someone starts screwing up their nose, it's very hard to not look for what's negative in a chocolate.
For me, one of the most favourite parts of chocolate isn't the smell, the sound right now, but it's the aftertaste. I get more joy from most foods in my life by the texture or the aftertaste, and whether the aftertaste lives up to its promise at the beginning. So it doesn't let you down. So you can taste it for 10, 15, 20 minutes ahead and still want more. That's when I know that I love a chocolate and I want to use it to make chocolates from.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's how I fall in love with a new chocolate if I haven't had it before.
Me too. That's one of the first chocolates that I tried, one that you use for your infamous salted caramel, the Manjari chocolate. It's just such an easy chocolate to go back to, which is based in Madagascar and has a lot of similarities with the flavor profile of this one, actually, I think, although it is not that chocolate. I think that's the biggest difference between a lot of the cheaper chocolate. In the first taste is quite nice quite often, but then the aftertaste is really disappointing and often not even very chocolatey.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I have a thumbs up if you like that one? And it's okay if you didn't.
Oh, hang on, I'll do me.
I obviously like them all because I chose them.
Oh, look at all the thumbs up. That's great.
And it's totally okay if you don't. I'm not expecting, like, that's the beauty of diversity. We all have different preferences. So
I always say, don't be afraid to say you don't like it. You can't like everything. You might like it now, but the next one might be better than that one. Then you think, oh, I didn't like the first one quite as much. So don't be shy. If you really don't like it, just say, we won't be offended.
No.
Nobody will.
Yeah, I mean, the chocolate makers may or may not be on the call, but...
I would say if I don't like something, as long as I understand it. Like, for example, there are some chocolates I use that I wouldn't choose to eat every day as a piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
I love baking with it or putting it in other things. And as long as I can understand if it's a well-made chocolate, if it's been executed well and the flavour's great, but I just can't eat it as a piece of chocolate every day, I think then that's all right. It kind of,
yeah, definitely.
You know.
And I've chosen a variety of chocolates here with the understanding that having done, well, hundreds, if not thousands of tours in the last 15 years, I know that everybody's taste is so different. And so while I like all of these bars very much, I am quite confident that that it's unlikely that everyone, well, it's impossible, I think, almost that everyone will like all of them. One or two of you might, but there'll be probably one in there that all of you don't like very much. So that's okay. That's challenging things too, right?
Can I just ask everyone if they like the texture of the chocolate? Everyone like the texture? Because the texture thing is huge. It's like, makes it what it is. Does it cling to your mouth? Is it clean? Is it gloopy? Is it sticky? Is it silky? You know.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know how many of you are using the thing to write notes. I won't show you mine because it's I've already written my notes as my cheat sheet. But feel free. You don't have to, of course, but that's under the melt finish. They're kind of beginning and end of the whole experience. So the big reveal. Does anyone want to take a guess at the percentage of that, and or if there's any other ingredients or the origin, depending on how experienced you are? 70, 68, 65, 75, 70. It is really hard to tell. So don't, I'm asking you to guess, but it's, I've had two 70% side by side, and, one's tasted like a 60 and one's tasted like an 80. So, it's all a game of luck. Okay, so there's a big range. It's about the average of what I'm seeing there, maybe a little bit higher than the average. So it is a 73%. Anyone want to guess the maker or the origin? Okay.
I don't know the maker.
Pardon, Paul?
I don't know the maker, actually.
You don't?
No, I don't think so.
I think you might.
Well, I might know it, but I can't guess it.
I'm sorry. This is cruel. Okay, it is not Pump Street. Are you ready?
Oh, it's Fire Trick. I should know it because I use Fire Trick. Oops.
Yeah.
Fire Trick. I should know that off by heart.
But that's the thing about when you taste something in a different environment, it really tastes different.
It tastes very different than the chocolate we get in to use to make a chocolate than having it in a little button. But that's really refreshing that me having it at home is completely
by me
to work from you. Yeah.
It's the love that I put in while tempering.
It is.
Yeah. made the difference. Cool. So this is Fire Tree, which is a relatively new bean to bar company. One of the 3 co-founders, though, has over 30 years experience in the chocolate industry, in the, what we might call the dark side. And I don't mean dark chocolate side, I mean the bigger businesses that don't do things quite so ethically. But now this is incredibly ethical. All of the chocolate is bought directly from the farmers. And the reason it's called Fire Tree, if you have seen a cocoa tree before, the pods look like flames, some of them, when they are ripe. They're beautiful red, orange, yellow colours. And that's part of the reason. So this is also all of the origins where Fire Tree buy their cocoa beans are, the trees are grown in volcanic soil. So it's a very beautiful name, I think. So I am going to send everybody a list of all the chocolates that we tried, and I'll send you a direct link if you want to go and try buy from them or try any of their other chocolates as well. So next one, are you ready? It's important to leave a slight gap in between them. So this next chocolate looks like this.
Have a swill of water, everybody.
Yes, good idea, Paul. This is the Green Star. Cheers. It is just water. But...
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't tell you the origins. Sorry. Thank you for asking that. This was the Philippines, Mindanao Island, which is one of the larger islands of the Philippines, and it grows down the southern part of that island. And the tasting notes on here, for your information, are citrus, honey, and caramel. Funny, I got the citrus more one of the other times I tasted it than this time. It definitely was more red fruity to me.
I think that's the beauty of chocolate made from either smaller plantations or when the producer doesn't do a lot to the bean, like Fire Tree. They don't do a lot. It's, fermented, dry, then Martin and his team roast it and grind it. And I've had the samples of the Philippines. I don't use it to manufacture at the minute. I use the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea and Madagascar. Papua New Guinea, sorry. And it tastes different to this, not in any better way or worse way. Exactly what you've just said, Jen. The first taste I had of the Philippines of this was very citrus, like very sharp and acidic. And this is really gentle and rounded and lovely. But there's going to be natural variation in good bean to bar chocolate. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. And they all are different. This was the one that I really enjoyed just eating the most, but all of the others were beautiful as well. And again, I particularly have a preference for that kind of acidity in chocolate as well. So I'm always going to lean towards the more acid chocolates, which is not to everybody's taste. So I'm trying to make not all the chocolates very acidic tastings. But generally people seem to like the Manjari style, which is this. Hopefully they're not insulted by that. So this, so the Philippines. The next chocolate, if you notice, it has things sprinkled on top, and I was very careful in the cutting to make sure that you all got the things that are sprinkled on top, although the piece I've got actually doesn't, but that's my own fault. It can depend which way, when you have a chocolate that has something on top, whether it's sprinkles of salt or some other ingredient, it really makes a difference which way up you put it in your mouth. So whether you put the inclusions, as we call it, directly onto your tongue, you'll really experience them more intensely. But do have a smell and see if you notice differences between the first and the other one. First and this one, sorry. I have a baby. She doesn't always sleep through the night. She's cute though.
She's very cute.
Sleeping now, thankfully.
It's very fragrant, this one.
Which I think is partly coming from the inclusions, but also the chocolate. We are tasting the Green Star, the second one. And I'll come back to the fermenting question. When I do the tastings for corporate groups or people who ask for it in a private group, I cover the whole process of how chocolate's made, but because I think most of you on the calls, and we want to try and get through everything.
Everyone tasting. It's very tea, like tea leafy. Black tea.
I haven't said what the inclusions are yet.
I'm not sure what they are. I've licked them a lot, but I can't remember what it is. They're slightly savoury. When you lick them, they're slightly savoury.
When you chew it, I found when I ate a piece last week, when you chew it, it's easier to tell what it is. But I wasn't as keen on it when I chewed it, so I'm not necessarily recommend it. I love the chocolate, and I do like the inclusions, but when I chewed on a larger piece of the inclusion, I was like, I hope I've done the right thing sending this on.
I'm loving the texture. Is anyone else liking the texture, that kind of firm but crumbly, but not dry? I like that kind of give it's got. Less snap, but more kind of white.
Yeah. Had to have another piece just to see.
I can eat a lot of that. That's very easy to eat, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to stop myself because I didn't order enough to be snacking. So someone has actually guessed correctly in the list for one of the 2 additional ingredients. Would it help if I told you that this bar was made in Ireland, Northern Ireland? So
Northern Ireland.
Technically, still UK.
So is seaweed one of the ingredients? Really? I don't like seaweed, but I love that.
I love seaweed, but it's not necessarily with my chocolate. But I really like this.
It's very delicate, isn't it?
It is. So the other ingredient actually was very, very minimal. So I wasn't able to detect it. So it's, the other ingredient is coarse flour.
Really? Does anybody know what that would taste like? I don't know what that would taste like.
So I had to Google it. And it apparently has an aroma of coconut, which is detected more strongly by some people than others. So I don't know what.
One of the things you know about me, Jen, is when you've got inclusions of flavours in bars, everyone, you can agree or not, and this can be controversial or not, but I do believe that if you're putting an inclusion of flavour in a bar, and I'm sorry if the producers are on the call, I personally need to be able to get that flavour. Like,
if you ate that whole piece though, Paul, and chomped through it, like most people eat chocolate, including me, by the way, I don't always just suck on a piece of chocolate for half an hour. You would definitely taste, maybe not the gorse flour, but it does look prettier with the gorse flour, and it fits with the,
I just have this thing about being able to taste it, but I wouldn't know what gorse flour tastes like, so that's kind of nice to learn something new from tasting the chocolate. It's great.
Paul, Dom's just said about chocolata. They do a milk chocolate gorse flour, but I haven't had that one in a while, but it definitely tastes like more than just milk chocolate. I'm just moving my chair. So anyone want to guess what? Well, first of all, do you like this chocolate? Did anyone? Did anyone pick up on the seaweed? Oh, why is my mouse not working? There we go.
I liked it. Yeah. But I didn't like it because of the seaweed or the gorse flour. I liked it because I thought the chocolate flavour was really well balanced.
Yeah.
What does everybody else think? I agree with Dom. I wouldn't have picked out the seaweed either.
Okay. Let's do a thumbs up. Sorry, I was a bit vague with that instruction. If you like it, can I see a thumbs up?
Ooh, just a few likes.
So I'm curious, for the people who are not keen, is it because the seaweed is not for you, or?
You can do a nod or a shake.
Yeah, you do wave your hand if it's because of the seaweed, maybe, like with the either reactions or an actual. No, it's not the seaweed, just not to your, not as keen in this chocolate. Okay, so also, I'm sorry about being stuck to your teeth. So this chocolate, do you think it was a higher or lower percentage than the one before? Okay, so wave if you think slower, use the waving icon, and thumbs up if you think higher.
Oh, sorry, hang on. I can do that.
So wave is lower and thumbs up is higher. Oh, we're quite split.
Well, it might be 75.
I can see some industry people not chipping in here. You're not putting your head above the parapet. So it is actually lower, but only just. It is 72%, so it's basically the same, which wasn't really an option I gave you. So maybe that's what the industry people, they knew it was the same. But I would have guessed higher probably with that one, if I was guessing, because it's a more intense chocolate, I think, flavor-wise.
Yeah. I think colour-wise as well, Jen, I don't know if you can tell, it's even though it's a percent lower, the colour of the chocolate against the previous one is much darker.
Yeah.
And I teach a lot of my new chocolatiers that just because the chocolate looks lighter in colour doesn't mean it's going to be a lighter percentage or taste lighter. It's variety of bean and the length of roast. So have a look at the colours of all the chocolates as well.
Yeah, I remember judging once, and they brought the last two chocolates to the table, and they said, okay, one's a dark milk and one's a dark chocolate. And we're like, well, we'll do the dark first, I think. And so we went to reach for it, and it turned out that the one we thought was dark actually had milk in it. Yeah. And the one that we thought was had milk in it was so pale, but it was a dark chocolate. So it can be very deceiving as well. Lots of ways chocolate tries to catch you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one was the first, maybe not the only, but the first Northern Irish chocolate maker.
Yeah.
I say Northern Irish. It is, I don't know, it says Ireland on here. I thought Northern Ireland. I'm Irish. Let's go with Irish. Neary Nogs.
Wow.
Which are lovely people, as are all the people in the chocolate industry that I choose to interact with. I'm sure they all are, but just in case you've encountered any other ones. They are based in County Down, and they have been making chocolate. I've got my notes here since 2011. They also do caramels and truffles as well, but everything they do is now from bean to barrel. That's not how they started. Neary is their surname, and Nogs is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, youth in Irish Gaelic. And Dullaman, which is the name of this particular bar with Gorsfire and Irish seaweed, is Irish Gaelic for seaweed. Also happens to be a beautiful song sung in Gaelic, which is all about seaweed, but it's in Gaelic, so it sounds much prettier than the translation. But it's a very nice song. If you fancy listening to some Irish Gaelic music, I recommend Googling it afterwards or using another search engine. So next chocolate. This is the Yellow Star, the one that probably looks most like a bar of chocolate, like you'd expect to. So also shiny, paler in colour, but as Paul said, not always an indicator of anything. Okay, too warm in here. That didn't snap brilliantly.
Nope. It's a bit warm. Jen, someone just asked what the origin was of the Neary Nogs.
I'm sorry, too many details to give you. It is Dominican Republic, sorry.
Ah, I wouldn't have got that.
Yes. Single estate, small batch, dairy and gluten-free, organic and vegan. And all the packaging is recyclable and compostable as well. Maybe not this gold bit, but everything else. Oh, next.
Elizabeth, it is powdery. I agree with you.
I really like that though. Like, I know it's it reminded me of like chocolate from childhood in a good way.
Horlicks. It is malty.
Yeah, it's malty.
It's very yum. It is very. Someone just said yum. It's like you could down the whole bar really quick.
Is anyone here familiar with Milo?
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of enthusiastic nods, yes. If you spent any time like living in another English-speaking country other than the US or here, you probably know Milo quite well. I ate lots of it in the 15 years I lived in Australia. And yeah, it's very, very Milo-y. Yeah, it's a happy chocolate.
Mm.
Yeah, I find it very nice. Pardon, Paul?
It's comfort chocolate, isn't it? This one.
Yes, compared to a Malteser, yes, definitely. I found it very hard to like not eat all of this.
Much sweeter.
Mashed potato, cool.
I like the mashed potato.
I wish my mashed potato tasted like this. I do kind of know what you mean.
Is it a milk alternative? Maybe. Is it milk? I kind of think it might have a milk alternative in now, but I don't know.
I don't eat a lot of milk. I drink a lot of milk or eat a lot of dairy anymore, so I'm not as good at telling. Okay, so thumbs up or no thumbs up? I'm happy you just do a thumbs up if you like it and nothing if you're not so keen. Someone got a tin of Milo. Excellent. Are you in the UK? But it's not from the UK. No. Yes, the UK Milo is terrible. That's why I stopped consuming Milo. So apologies for anyone who's curious about Milo. You're going to have to wait until people are allowed to travel and you find someone coming from ideally Australia or New Zealand, possibly Singapore. I'm not even sure it tastes the same in South Africa, but I do recommend trying it at some point, but not the English one. It's awful. I don't know why, but same as Cadbury's tastes terrible in Australia comparatively to the UK one. It's still
smell-wise on this one, Jen, and everybody, I don't get anything. Like I snapped it. I can't smell anything. Does anybody else smell anything? Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not as pungent and aromatic and fragrant as the other two.
I find that once I've tasted chocolate though, I can't get any smell from it.
Yeah. That's true as well. Yeah, because it fills your nasal cavity.
Yeah, because I can't smell anything from it now, but I'm sure that I could on another day. A bit smoky at first. Yeah, I get a little bit. Yeah, it's a bit smoky. Oh, Ghana, I didn't know they have good Milo. Sorry. Yes. This chocolate. Anyone want to guess at the percentage and whether or not there's other ingredients?
Ooh,
I'm just going to keep munching in the meantime.
I do want to say there's malt powder or something in there because it's got that malty finish to it, like biscuity, comforty.
Nothing, but it doesn't actually. But I agree.
Yeah, it's very Horlicksy.
Really Horlicksy, which is the same kind of maltiness of Milo. So the tasting notes are actually roasted nuts, butterscotch, and vanilla. I think Max will add Milo malt to this. So Laura and Ali and Michelle, well done. Karina, 50%.
Oh.
It is a milk chocolate. And it is just regular dairy, British dairy, I'm pretty sure, which is it reminds me of Cadbury, even though I haven't eaten Cadbury in quite a long time now. And it definitely does not taste like this, but it's just the memory of childhood where it used to taste. And the texture too. So this is bouillon.
Oh.
Is made in Sheffield by Max, and he has a shop too, which is obviously closed at the moment. But it's his factory shop, so you can see things being made as well as buy them. So I'm very excited to visit once we're allowed to.
Yeah. What I like is that if you look at the branding, fine milk, I mean this as a compliment, Max. That fine milk is like the Cadbury's dairy milk, the dairy milk bit, which you're celebrating the fact that it's a really lovely, comforting bar of milk chocolate with that big fine milk on the front. And I really like that and appreciate that on the branding.
And the size as well, like it feels like it's a proper bar of chocolate.
It does.
that you're going to actually like open it up and it's got like a nice envelope-y thing. So that's I filled the plastic wrap one inside there. That's not how they come. I just wanted to not have the empty packaging because it looked a bit thin without the chocolate in it. But that bar's all for me. Also, when I ordered this chocolate from Max, I asked him to send some brownies, which are on the directory that we have as well. I don't know if I would say we when currently it's just me. Yeah, so I asked Max to send me some brownies and he did, and they are fantastic. So
is that an Origin or a blended milk bar?
It's an Origin. So yes, it is Cacao Nacional. It's an heirloom variety and it is from Ecuador. Santo Domingo. Yes, right. Clean aftertaste. Exactly. It's like, because the actual Cadbury's, when you first taste it, it still kind of brings back good memories for me. But the aftertaste is. Is the powdered milk caramelized? I don't know. Max, are you here? Is he on the call? Not sure.
It does taste. It does. That maltiness is like the milk's being caramelized, or maybe it's brown sugar rather than white sugar.
It doesn't say brown sugar, but it says just cane sugar, but that could be brown sugar still. Yeah. But when the reason Cadbury's has that malty sort of caramelized is because they heat the sugar with the milk, so it gives that caramel note. So it's possible pasteurized milk can. Very good. That's true. Thanks, Anna. Okay, next chocolate. Are we ready? I have not got through in 40 minutes. Ooh. I'm very sorry. Paul's gone straight in. Feel free to do the same.
I did sniff it and break it. Can I just say is also a lot of milk chocolate at room temperature won't have the same snap as dark, everybody. So it's not tempered correctly or anything. It's just a bit bendier because there's more sugar in them. Very strong coffee, yeah. Oh, it's very nostalgic for me, this. Yummy. Lots of roasted coffee comments, Jen.
Yeah, maca, licorice. Yeah, I get the licorice too. Like being in Naples. I love that, how just it throws memories. So yes, it does have coffee in it. That is not you can sometimes get beans that taste a bit like coffee naturally, but this definitely has coffee in it as well. I love this bar. Another one that I really have to be careful not to eat too much of because of the fact that I don't drink coffee anymore. Which is a sad thing. So would anyone, let's see the thumbs up if you like this one. Obviously if you're not a coffee fan, you may not be so keen. Thumbs up.
I like how it's not an overly sweet coffee milk chocolate.
And I also really like how you can actually tell, because I wouldn't normally I wouldn't choose a coffee chocolate, even though I do love coffee flavored things and I do like coffee as well. But I wouldn't normally choose coffee and chocolate because I find quite often the coffee's good and it clashes with the chocolate and it can be quite bitter. But I love how this one is, you can tell that it's proper coffee from a roastery where you'd be happy to drink the espresso, or if that's very snobby of me, but
I agree. It's very hard to work with coffee and chocolate because they're both roasted, they're both got tannins, they're both bittersweet, they're both very hard, and you've got to balance them really, really well. And we go through lots of samples of coffee beans when we're trying to make a coffee chocolate, whether it's a filled chocolate or a bar, because over time the flavour can diminish as well because those oils in the coffee bean hit the air and then eventually kind of peter out a little bit. So it's nice to have a bar that's actually as strong from when you first taste it right through to the end. Like it's very level. And that's not easy. You've got to, like you've said, Jen, you've got to find the right coffee bean at the right roast, at the right bitterness and intensity to make it work really well.
Yeah.
They've done that with this, whoever it is. I think I might know who it is, I'm not sure.
Probably do. It's this bar won gold at the International Chocolate Awards, and there are not many golds given out on the international level in 2018. And so it is. Well, I was going to tell you, I was going to make you guess what percentage it was, but I shall not do that because, you might want to go at 8:30. So it's 55%. So it's slightly higher than the one before. And it is made by James, which is J Cocoa in Sussex. Oh. And James has been making chocolate since 2015. I think that's right. He's on the call.
It's very good, James. I could eat a lot of it. The balance is brilliant. Is it an origin bean or blend again, Jen?
It's an origin as well. We're looking after you all. This is Nicaragua, so 4th origin of the evening. And it's a single variety as well. So Chuno cocoa beans in bouquet. It's a 2017 harvest. So one of the things, if you are looking to buy bean to bar chocolate, or even just craft chocolate, I mean, all chocolate is bean to bar technically at some point, but is to look out for the more information that is provided, the more likely it is to be at least authentic and where they've bought directly from the farmers. And I think, in fact, all the chocolate that I'll be using for these tastings, the company have bought directly from the farmers, which ensures that they're paid a wage they can live and actually have a life that's acceptable, decent, and there's no slave labor or anything, and they're looking after the environment and things as well. So,
and that's one of the main reasons why everyone tonight, if you make one change in your chocolate habits, is buy a bar of chocolate from a producer or a chocolatier who buys the chocolate couverture or the beans from the grower, because you're automatically helping someone's life get better.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. I mean, I don't want to get on my pedestal, whatever you call it, but it's not sustainable to buy chocolate for £1. And I understand sometimes you need chocolate and that's the only thing you can get, but yeah, it's still a huge amount of slavery in the supply chain, because most of the cocoa is bought by 4 companies in the world and shareholders, and anyway, I could go on about that for a while, and I won't. Maybe I'll do that in a rant on another tasting. So final chocolate. I think I covered all the bits about that one. I would suggest actually, if you haven't, don't eat any more of the coffee one for a minute, just to let that go. We'll just take a little pause before the last chocolate, because coffee is quite a strong flavor and it might linger a little bit. So yeah, have some water. And I saw a question early on about fermentation, and I just thought I'd quickly cover that before I forget about it. So fermentation probably makes the biggest difference in how a chocolate tastes in the end. And some cocoa beans are never properly fermented at all, and those tend to go to be made into cocoa powder for Oreos and things like that, sometimes into some big known brands in other countries. But there have been experiments actually by the people in Nicaragua, where in this particular bar was it was a moderate drying period, a moderate fermentation length, and each day it was turned one to two times. Once. And then, but they do also have turns where they do 2 or 3 times a day, and that adds more oxygen into the fermentation, so it changes it. So just like you get different cheeses from changing the fermentation of milk and the different bacteria that get involved, you can really change the taste of a chocolate by changing the fermentation. Okay, so last chocolate, the pink star for the pink chocolate. Pink, purple, I'm not sure. So you'll have slightly different formats of this, but.
Ooh. I might know who that is, I think. Oh, it's vibrant, isn't it? I think I know who it is.
I did mention I like sour things, right?
Makes your mouth go.
This is zingy.
Sour cherry, yeah, it's very sour cherry. Jennifer, oh my God, I can't stop salivating. Neither can I. Barely speak. Nice to have something really for refreshing and clean at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, I wanted to keep this one to the end. Obviously, it's the least kind of like chocolatey as we know it, but I thought it would be fun to include something that you might, so we weren't just trying 5 different dark bars, basically.
It shows the diversity of chocolate. What is chocolate, particularly, I think.
I'm so pleased that so many of you like it.
Does the producer begin with an S? Oh, God. They do. I think that this company do this type of chocolate the best. I think.
It did remind me of one that I've had from Zotta years ago, when Dom and I went to visit, or perhaps I've had it at other times as well. So, can I see thumbs up or no thumbs up, as you wish? I feel like since the first chocolate, it's been like 50-50 on all of them.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just hope that it's not the same 50 people liking it and the other 50 hating all the other 4. 50%, that is. So can anyone, I think someone may have, at least one person may have got the additional ingredients correct. In fact, someone did. Do you know what it is, Paul?
Is it raspberry? No.
It's not. Yeah, the taste and smell really are different. So confusing. So yeah, one person did get it. I'm just trying to find the person who got it was a chocolate maker. That's cheating. Is
it a red fruit? Can we guess?
It is red.
Is it cherry? No. Cranberry. How many red fruit? Pomegranate.
Is it a fruit or a flower? I think it's a flower. It's hibiscus.
Oh. No, I wouldn't have guessed that. But it's beautiful. It's really delicious.
Yeah, no, it does. I would have guessed, and without having had hibiscus chocolate before, I would have guessed raspberry. That's the thing about tasting. So like even with the taste wheel, like you need to actually have eaten these things fairly recently in order to be able to detect them in in a dark chocolate. If you haven't eaten a plum in a year, then noticing the plum notes in a natural chocolate, not one that's been added, is really challenging. And like, how often do we? I've had it in champagne. It's really good like that, but the champagne kind of takes over. You don't really taste the hibiscus that much. So yes, hibiscus, which is super high in vitamin C. So yay! Like if you didn't already know, cocoa has more vitamins and minerals than any other food that's found naturally on the planet, which is your invitation to eat more. In moderation, or maybe perhaps whatever, do what you like. But yay to vitamins and minerals. And yeah, this has a lot of vitamin C, although it has removed all of the cocoa powder, which is the bit where the vitamins and minerals are. So you need to eat this plus the other stuff. So I don't think there's any vitamin C in dark chocolate naturally. So how do you use a wheel? Okay, so how I use the wheel, there's lots of different versions of ways to taste chocolate. My friend Hazel does an amazing map of colors, and you look at the colors that you feel like you're tasting, and then you find words that match. So if you start at in the center, and there's the major categories, and then if you kind of choose a category, then you can move out and then see if you can identify flavors. So it kind of helps you to if you were to write tasting notes, which you may not want to do, but if sometimes you taste a chocolate and you're like, oh, what is that? What can I taste? So that should be helpful if you start at the middle. It's also called a spider diagram. So I used to be the coffee person for a big company, and we had a similar wheel. and it was basically considered that the center was 0 and the outside was 10, and you would grade under every single flavor, and you'd put a dot, and then if you drew a line between the dots, you end up with what kind of looks like a spider's web. So you can use it like that as well, although you quickly mess it up, but it can be fun. Perhaps I should send out just a black and white version. But yes, it is a flavored white chocolate, but it does, so a few of you also noticed coconut. This is a vegan white chocolate, and the milk alternative is coconut. The one I had from Zotta, which was raspberry, I don't think had any, it was just raspberry powder and sugar and cocoa butter, and that worked really well as well. It was very zingy too. It wasn't coloured, it was just the natural hibiscus is that colour. So the only ingredients were sugar and yeah, so it's broken, but this is what the whole bar looks like. Sorry, it's a bit reflective, but it's in pieces. And this is the branding. I've got another chocolate here because that seed chocolate. Didn't actually tell you that bit, did I? Sorry. Seed chocolate, made by another James. It is made in Staffordshire. So the only bean to bar company in Staffordshire. So we've kind of roamed across the country and over the waters too. And all of James's chocolates are vegan except one. I should have also mentioned one of the coolest things about the coffee bar. This is all completely like compostable. There's no glue, and yeah. So since 2018, James from Sussex has got entirely compostable packaging. He's been the leader in the industry in making sure that happened, and lots of other people are following. So there's so many cool people in chocolate. Are you okay to stay for another 10 minutes, Paul? So we're
yes.
Yeah, thanks. I hope.
As long as you want, everybody. Yeah.
Who needs to sleep? You'll all be wired now from the chocolate. Anyway. Hi, Nancy. Yes, feel free if you need to go off do so. I'm going to record the rest of it anyway. So if you want to hear any questions that people have for Paul, you can. I'll send you all the links. So if you do need to go, you can catch up later. So questions for Paul. So I'm going to give him one that was sent in advance, as promised. If you asked in advance, you got your question asked first. And there were two. Three, but the other one can wait till offline. I think it's made my tongue purple. The one was, what is your favourite chocolate creation that you've ever made?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Creation, or individual chocolate, or anything? Do you think?
It wasn't specific in the question. They might like to clarify. Sorry, while you're thinking of that, if you could share in the chat what your favorite chocolate was, I would love to know. It's okay if you write several, and it's okay if you all say the same thing. I'm going to hope that you had others that you liked. And then also, I wanted, before everybody leaves, there's somebody celebrating a birthday. So like you're all on mute, so we can't sing, sorry. But happy birthday to Aliki. I hope you're happy.
Happy birthday. My favourite chocolate creation ever. Well, there's two, I'm going to have two. I know it's greedy and I shouldn't, but one is my sea salted caramel because it was the very first chocolate I developed, and that was 17 or 18 years ago now when it was developed. It was about 3 years before I had the business. And that's just because it was the first chocolate where I got the recipe just right. So that was kind of a breakthrough moment. And then the other product, or the truffle that I just can't stop eating, and it's a nostalgia thing, is my rum and raisin truffle, because we soak the raisins in rum for a month and then put that inside the truffle. And every time I have one, it's just like those rum balls I used to get as a kid, but better, because it's got rum in. But I can just eat that anytime. There are loads I love, but those two are particularly nostalgic now. I love them.
And then the other question was, what is your kind of cheap chocolate? Like, do you still eat? Is there any cheap chocolate that gets you?
There is. I just noticed somebody earlier said, "No more Kit Kats!" exclamation point. Now, everybody who knows me knows that I don't want to make this a long answer. I'm not a chocolate snob, and what I mean by that is I can enjoy nearly all chocolate. It's all relative. It all has its place. And as Jen said, there's a lot of things going on in the industry to do with sourcing and sustainability and slave labour and things. But the one thing I don't disagree with is stopping eating everything, because so many people would be out of work and out of jobs. But I do love a Kit Kat, and that is my guilty pleasure. At Christmas, it's a Terry's chocolate orange. But there's so much, as Jen said earlier, and I agree with this, you've got to balance it out. And what I think is, if you're balancing out one with the other, you're supporting the growers, you're doing as much as you possibly can. If we all stopped eating everything else all in one go, there's so many people just wouldn't get anything. But there's so much work to be done. So, like I say, I can appreciate all chocolate, including confectionery, but that Kit Kat is confectionery and this is chocolate. There's a big difference. That's the thing we need to be aware of.
Yes. In terms of making a hot chocolate from a chocolate bar, the best thing you need is to actually mix it properly. So you want to have a blender, or if you've got a frother on a coffee machine, then you can like mix it all into that. Or the Chocolate Society came up with a 25-pound chocolate shaker, which is really nifty. And you really need to agitate it well, but do not put hot milk in a jar and shake it. That's going to hurt you. It does expand, and so don't try that. But some kind of like some way of agitating with the blender is the best way to make a good hot chocolate. But otherwise, you can whisk it as well. Melt it first. I tend to pour. Sorry,
go on, Jen. Go on.
I was going to say I tend to pour hot water over the chocolate first, and then whisk it into a paste, and then add the hot milk, or whisk it in a pan and cook it that way too.
I think that's the best way, Jen. Add some water and make a paste first.
What was the last chocolate you fell in love with?
That I've never had that question before. That's a brilliant question. The last chocolate I fell in love with, this milk one we just had. It was great.
Yeah.
Is that from James? I've forgotten. Yes.
Brilliant. No, sorry, Max.
Max. That's the last one I fell in love with, because that's the only little bit I've got left. I ate all the rest. So that's not, because I hadn't had 4 of those I've never had before, which is brilliant.
Yay!
Someone asked what was my favourite white chocolate, and that's a really tough one, because as long as the only fat in the chocolate for white chocolate is cocoa butter, and the milk is full cream milk, then I'm probably likely to like it. It's just I don't like white chocolate that is vegetable fat based, because it's really greasy.
Yeah, it's horrible. And in fact, I should tell you that the hibiscus chocolate from Seed Chocolate, so this James is also a chef with 20 years experience, before he started this business. Paul was a chef, if you didn't realise. So James, of the hibiscus chocolate, this is a 40% cocoa content. So to be a good quality milk chocolate, it needs to be at least 30%. And that's the same for white chocolate, but it only refers to the cocoa butter. Otherwise it's not white chocolate. But generally a good white chocolate would be 30 to 40% at a minimum. I'm just checking if there are other questions. Someone's asked how you choose your chocolate for your filling, Paul.
Oh, that's interesting, because I do it in 2 ways, and I do it with Hayley, my head chef. If we know the flavour we're aiming for, whether it's a single thing like passion fruit or a blend of something, we try those ingredients first. And we try them to see if we need to sweeten them. So say it was passion fruit and we needed to sweeten it, because passion fruit could be quite sour. I then have to know every type of couverture chocolate that I use. We use 25 to 30 varieties at the moment. That's blends, single origins, single bean varieties. And I know those in my head. So I know already what chocolate passion fruit will work with. And I want to decide whether I want the passion fruit to be the hero, or whether I want the chocolate to be the hero with those other flavours, either at the beginning, when you bite in, at the middle of your tongue, or in the aftertaste. And with passion fruit, for me, we use white chocolate just as a vehicle to stabilise the passion fruit. And the chocolate on the outside is Ecuadorian, because it's really delicately mangoey and soft fruity and not too acidic, and doesn't overpower the passion fruit. So I look at it both ways. I can try chocolate and think, those ingredients, that chocolate, will work with these ingredients. It has characters of, it will balance well with. that comes with the other experience of constantly tasting the chocolate, knowing your ingredients. But then every passion fruit is different. Every raspberry is different. Every chili is different. From batch to batch, from punnet to punnet. So you have to taste continually, and sometimes you have to change the chocolate. The producer of the chocolate, for example, Madagascar, very fruity, red fruits, acidic, but not every producer makes their Madagascar chocolate very fruity and very acidic. Some is softer. So I then taste the ingredients and pair them with the chocolate that complements it to the very best it can be. I have issue with people, with chocolatiers who use one dark chocolate and just flavour the dark chocolate. One milk chocolate and flavour the milk chocolate, and one white. Because there is no way that one dark chocolate and one milk and white will work with all the ingredients in the world and all the flavours and all the combinations. Sometimes you have to be a bit daring and blend those things, blend them together, all the different varieties of chocolate, and understand what Jen's just allowed you all to do today, and you've allowed yourselves to do by joining, which is to understand all the complexities, flavour notes of the chocolate you tasted. Because if you've got any left and you taste it tomorrow, it will taste different than today, and you'll go, ooh, that chocolate I had last night will work really well with the ripening raspberries in my garden, so I'm going to buy that chocolate, I'm going to just melt it and pour it over my raspberries and eat it as dessert because it will marry well. And I do that by just as an example of just playing with chocolate, and you will find something you like. I can't tell you which chocolate works for your tongue, but all I can say is you can only use what you love to eat. If you love it and you make it into a chocolate and you give that message to somebody else about why you've made it, they will probably love it too.
That's so true about and generally what I say to people, why I would, say that you are probably my favourite chocolatier.
Oh,
thanks.
Favorite ginger chocolatier.
Okay, but it's because the variety, like I said at the beginning, like both using different shapes to make the chocolates taste different. So when, like, I love individual chocolates from most of the chocolatiers, but in terms of a box, I love that there are different chocolate couvertures used to marry with the fillings, and it makes it so much more interesting. I love French chocolate, but you go to a French chocolate shop and you buy a box, and then you feel like you've just got half ganache and half praline, and even though they're flavored with one's raspberry and one's passion fruit, they all start to taste the same because it's the same dark and same milk across everything.
If everyone's got time, Jen, can I ask everyone a really quick question? Does anybody else taste with shape? And by that I mean, when you think of a flavour or a fruit or something you love, do you think about the shape at the same time? Like for me, if someone said I had to make passion fruit, for me, it has to have like a sharp edge on the bottom but a soft rounded top. Does anybody else generally think like that when they eat? Like if you want to put something, if something's sharp, like sharp edges in your mouth, but it needs to be a soft flavour, to me that goes against, I need a round shape because it's a rounded flavour.
Yeah.
Does anybody else like that or agree with it or kind of ever think like that?
Lots of shaking heads. That
I've always had, and I don't hear it very often, but like when I develop a new chocolate, it isn't just the flavour, it's the shape of if I put the whole thing in my mouth and I don't bite it in half, if it's really sharp edged, I can't put that chocolate with a soft flavour. I've got to put with a kind of a sharper, punchier flavour. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I definitely do. And it can be completely off-putting to me to have like the wrong shape for a chocolate. Weird. I never considered that was off-putting for me until you've mentioned it now.
Well, the reason I ask is Cadbury's changed their dairy milk bar and made the top very round and said they didn't change recipes as years ago, and because it was the squared off cubey shape, and it changed the way everybody tasted dairy milk.
Yeah, everybody thought it was sweeter, right?
Exactly, because that smoother edge on your mouth triggers the brain into thinking it's sweeter and smoother and sexier and all those things, because sharp edges aren't sexy, are they, everyone? All the curvaceous things are sexy, and we want to eat more of it. So I think like that, but I don't take it to that extreme. I just kind of think like that disc of chocolate there's got these lovely, it's a super round edged chocolate, and the flavour for me is going to be really well balanced and smooth. And, you know, to me, it's
yeah,
kind of,
well, and the hibiscus, some of you got circles, some of you got pieces of the bar like that I held up, and then some of you got little domes, because I realized that they were less likely to break than the circles. And I felt like that's going to change. Like when you have it in a dome and it's quite high and thick, it's a real sherbety kind of hit, because it's a big chunk in comparison. But that's interesting, because I'm weaning Maya, obviously, and I can present her different foods in different kind of formats, and she'll like it in some ways and not in others. And interesting. So there were a couple more questions if you have the time. Oh, where are they? Should you keep chocolate in the fridge? Short answer is no. If it's over 26 degrees, 26 I'd say, in your house, then like double, keep it in whatever it came in, the wrapping, then put it inside a sealed plastic box, and put it in your fridge. And then when you want to eat it, remove it and wait an hour before you even open the plastic box, if you really care about the chocolate. Otherwise,
exactly right. Yeah. Don't freeze it, everyone. I have this question: should I freeze chocolate? Never freeze chocolate. You can't freeze truffles. Please don't freeze chocolate. It ruins it. You'll spoil it, and you'll have wasted all your money.
Yeah, just eat it as soon as you buy it. Honestly, chocolate tastes so much better like within the week that it's tempered. So I think that mostly when I'm buying this chocolate for you, people are sending it to me really super fresh, or I'm retempering it. So you're getting super, super fresh chocolate. It does start to stabilize and then still tastes really good as well, up to another year or so if it's well sealed. If you have cheaper chocolate, it tends to taste better straight from the fridge, because then it actually snaps, and you don't taste as much of the sugar. So cheaper chocolate does taste better from the fridge, but I would just suggest you buy better quality chocolate with less sugar, so it'll be healthier for you, and you won't have to store it in the fridge. More space for your vegetables. Where was more questions? There was a question. Paul, when you first started out, who was your biggest supporter and believed in you and your chocolate vision? Sounds like a friend of Kate.
Jen, her there. Oh gosh. So when we first opened the shop in 2006, I was very new in the industry. I'm completely self-taught in chocolate, but I was head pastry chef for Marco Pierre White for years before that, and a product developer for a couple of years for 2 big supermarkets. So I came into the chocolate industry not knowing anyone other than Chantal Cody. She gave me my first ever chocolate commission. And she asked me to make some chocolates for her Kings Road shop back in, I think it was 2005, I think. So before I had my business. And she was the first person that in the industry, and I knew of her at the time, that said, your chocolates are fantastic. And I remember what I made, I'll never forget. There was a ported marzipan, so a port in it, and a ported pear truffle, and they were unpreserved, hand-dipped, hand-fresh. Unpreserved, you know, and she was the one that gave me that first opportunity to make some chocolates that other people other than friends and family, because you all lie, friends and family, you all tell you things taste great when they probably don't, but real people tell you the truth. And it was Chantal from Rococo at the time who introduced me to someone called Kate Johns, who at the time had just started National Chocolate Week, which you probably have all heard of, and said, you need to meet Kate, because she started National Chocolate Week. And then Kate said, I gave her a box of my chocolates, which I had only made at home at this point. She said, you need to meet the Academy of Chocolate and enter your chocolates into the Academy of Chocolate Awards. I think that was 2005 or 6. And that was when my Sea Salt of Caramel won a gold award. So that's how it happened. And then the following year we opened our Islington store and Jen came in. So this kind of the chain of people, all ladies, see, ladies love their chocolate, but it was all people being very honest. And I appreciated that from the very beginning, because you do give friends, if any of you watching and involved tonight are wanting to make chocolates and you're giving them to friends and family, like people you know really well, and they're telling you they all taste great, they're lying, because not everything can taste great, and it's easy to hurt your feelings if you're a family member. I know this sounds really funny, but try and give them to people you know, but not know that well. Like if you got you're the news agent and you buy a newspaper every single day, and you have done for 10 years, and you know the guy or girl behind the counter, just say, can I give you some of my chocolates to try, and can you give me honest feedback? Because you need honest feedback. And that's what Chantal, Kate, and Jen, you've done the same thing over the years. You've tried all of our chocolates and you give honest feedback.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Otherwise, we can't improve. You know.
Yeah, I think that's a sign of a good chocolatier, though, if you don't like all of the chocolate, because then they're doing things that are pushing boundaries, and also that some people will like them. Like if you like, I would hope that you like all of the chocolates I gave, unless you had an aversion to seaweed, coffee, or sour things. But hopefully not all three. But like I wouldn't expect that you did, and that's why I tried to pick a variety of things and hope that you'd like at least 4 of the 5.
I think one of the biggest,
or there'd be one that you would love enough to make up for it.
I think one of the biggest mistakes if anyone's starting out is to not have negative criticism. It's impossible to do everything right, but it's your baby, and you're going to feel hurt a little bit if someone says that chocolate doesn't taste great. But you know what? It'll make you better, because you'll make it better next time. You'll improve, you'll grow. And any chef that can't take criticism isn't a good chef. Any chocolatier that doesn't take criticism isn't a good chocolatier. You have to take them on the chin and just strive to be better than you were. And unless you're adamant and you've worked so hard on it that you believe it will work, like me and my Marmite truffle, it's still on the collection 14 years later, whether you like it or not. I don't care.
It's so good. And that also goes for these tastings. This is only the second one. So if you have any suggestions for how I could make it snappier or longer or whatever it is that you think would make it better, you don't have to put it in the chat now. You can send it to me. Or tell a friend and get them to tell me. That's fine too. But yeah, please do let me know. Pardon?
Write a proper letter on paper. Send it to you.
It was challenging enough. And I love that somebody noticed that the colours of the stars were designed. I chose them to match the chocolates. So the red fire tree and the green seaweed and the yellow gold bullion, the blue coffee.
Blue mountain coffee.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't have a white one. Yeah. And then the pink for hibiscus. So, yeah, it was chosen on purpose. Nice spot, Tommy. Did I miss any more questions?
I'm loving your questions. Thank you, everybody. They're great. It's nice to be able to share.
The Marmite story is a long one.
Ooh. My Marmite, I can do it in one sentence, very quick. First 6 months of the business, Lydia Slater, who was editor-at-large at the Sunday Times Style magazine, was a fan of my chocolates. She said, I bet you've never tried Marmite. I spent 3 months developing a Marmite chocolate. She said if I could get it right, she'd do a feature in Sunday Times Style. I got it right because she liked it. She did a feature of me, calling me the Heston Blumenthal of chocolate in 2006, and put a feature in Sunday Times Style, and it stayed on the collection ever since. That's the story of Marmite Truffle, because she believed me in a chocolatier wanting to just try new ingredients because he loves me, loves ingredients. I like food, and I didn't do it as a gimmick. I just did it because I thought it was really fun, and I thought people would talk about it. And this was before Twitter and Instagram and anything like that. I just wanted people to talk about something. And if they used to come in the shop and go, Marmite Truffle, what's that about? Started a conversation, and they stayed in the shop a bit longer, so we sold them lots of things.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, and for tolerating us going over time. I'm very grateful. And if you do have any other suggestions also for other guests that you'd like to see me, I mean, I kind of feel like I could just bring Paul back every month and people would be happy. But if you do have other suggestions for guests or chocolates, as I said, the next 2 will be more bars, and then once I figure out how I'm going to package truffles, but the next one will be purely vegan. So if you do have any plant-based friends, and we'll be with Bettina, who is a chef. And then the following one will be with Juliette Sear, who you might know from This Morning TV program. She's a baker, and she had her own program on Sundays as well. And then the next one after that will be with the author Carol Matthews. I don't know how many you read, Chick Lit. She's written 19 books, or Lovers Club and The Chocolate Lovers Diet, and is a superstar. So eventually I want to have a cocoa farmer, but I realize I don't know how I'm going to get the chocolate to the cocoa farmer for them to taste at the same.
No, I know it's really unusual these current times of you guys not being able to come to my shops for a long time, etc. But how fabulous that we've been able to do this, because honestly, I think it's fantastic. I wouldn't have thought of doing it and connecting with so many of you at home. I just love looking in your houses. I do. I'm really nosy. I'm looking at everyone's. And it's fun for me. It gets, I'm not in the kitchen, in my production kitchen right now. It's nice just to be able to share any knowledge or fun, because chocolate is fun, and have a bit of, for me, it's like time out, but I'm hopefully giving you lots of things to think about as well. So I just appreciate Jennifer for asking me, first of all, and allowing me to be part of it. I really want to do it every month, Jen. It's really great. Well, I know I can't, because I've learned a lot tonight as well. And just thank you to everyone for. Times are hard for everybody right now, but independent small businesses like my own and many of you there tonight, this kind of support doing this tonight is brilliant, because it's a common thing and it just keeps it at the forefront and keeps businesses alive. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, please. As I said, Paul's shop in Camden is open now, and everything is now available online, which is amazing, because so many people have come on the tour and be like, "Can we get this online?"
The online shop address now you can. Jen.
Yes, it's shop.paulayoung.com. Is that right? Isn't it? .co.uk.
.paulayoung.co.uk, and we can post any time apart from tomorrow, because it's too hot.
Yeah.
So we can't post tomorrow's Friday, isn't it? Yeah. So tomorrow's going to be a bit hot on Saturday. So if you do buy anything, there'll be about 2 or 3 day delay, because we don't want them to get melted.
We've been lucky so far with these tastings, but I'm a bit nervous. That's why I didn't try and get everything out on Friday. I was afraid of it being stuck over the weekend, but obviously that's meant some people didn't arrive. We
did really well because it's hot. So well done.
Yeah, we just got lucky. So keep your fingers crossed for some cool days before the next one. I miss doing the tours and seeing actual people. So this has been a joy for me as well. Thank you so much for joining. And yes, I hope we see you on future ones. There will be different chocolate bars every time, or different truffles, so that people want to come back.
Thanks, Jen. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening/day.